Hello and welcome. My name is Kimberly Grymes, and I am a self published author. And this is From Ideas to Pages to Publishing, a podcast where I focus on quick, informative episodes for both readers and writers. Mainly, it's me giving an update on my writing projects, followed by one or two recent author experiences, all under 20 minutes or less. And I'm not holding back either regarding my author experiences. You can expect me to share the good, the bad, the wins, and those moments when I'm ready to drown my sorrows with a pint of ice cream. It's all part of the growing process to become the best author I can be, and hopefully my experiences can help others. Before I jump in and give you a quick writing update, I want to remind listeners that From Ideas to Pages to Publishing has a writing support group on Patreon. We meet once a month to cheer each other on as we work to reach our writing and author business goals. And podcast episodes are released a week early to Patreon members. All right, welcome to episode 21. This week, I'm going to be talking about my observations on book releases by the months, days, and trends, and how timing does matter. But first, let me just do a really quick project update. All of my writing projects are on hold, except for anything having to do with the Kickstarter. With the campaign launching on September 18th, that means when this episode airs on August 29th, there will be 20 days until go live day. I've been stressing about making sure everything is ready, but at the same time, I can only do what I can because, as of today, which I pre-record my episode, so as of today, which is August 21st, Book 3 manuscript is still out with my proofreader. I'm also waiting to receive the final version of the reverse dust jacket illustration. Whew, that's a mouthful. I also still have to design the new chapter title page designs for the omnibus. And then, lastly, well, not last because there's a huge list, I also need to finish the second short story. It's mostly doing self-edits. Now, book 3 should be returned to me any day now, either today or tomorrow. And the reverse dust jacket illustration should be done by the end of next week, around the same time this episode will air. Once I have book 3 back from my proofreader, I can start the interior formatting process, which I am super excited for because I recently bought a mini Mac and I plan on downloading Vellum. Hopefully it's an easy system to learn and won't lead to any mental breakdowns. Cross your fingers for me. Though I'm pretty confident I can learn the dashboard, or whatever Vellum calls it, pretty quickly. I'm kind of tech savvy like that. But for those that aren't really tech savvy, if you're planning to use a new software program, I would definitely give yourself adequate amount of time to learn the system, unlike me, who needs to learn it in just a few days. Okay, as for the chapter title pages, I need to come up with a new design for the omnibus. Over the summer, I did ask my kids to illustrate something, but we got so busy and they are working or they're just out with their friends or we were taking vacations, so that didn't really happen. I thought it would just be nice to have something from them inside the omnibus because they're both amazing artists. And with that, I also need to start planning out my Kickstarter campaign story page. This page is the page people will visit when they go to my Kickstarter, and all of the information about what I'm offering is there. So this page is super important when presenting all the campaign information to potential backers, which means I need to create as many mock-ups as I can because I don't have any physical books. So I need to create as many mock-ups as I can. I have the cover. I have the book edge designs that I want. I just need to do the chapter title designs and I just need to do mock-ups for the reverse dust jacket. I haven't designed a new cover for the annotated edition of Shade of Light. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do there, but I do need to come up with something a little bit different than the standard or regular paperback cover of Shade of Light for the annotated edition. And that is also something that I need to work on in the next few weeks because I'll need that cover for the campaign story page. And speaking of the annotated edition, the layout is finally done. So I screenshot every page in Word and put it into the Affinity program. So the layout is completely done, and I'm so happy with the way it looks. Now I just need to go through and read book 1 again and add my author notes, which I'm planning to use my Remarkable 2 tablet device to handwrite my notes and then copy and paste those notes into the Affinity program where I have my book layout. If all goes well, and cross your fingers it does, when I upload the PDF, I should be able to put it into KDP or Ingram and order a paperback copy. The dimensions are changing from the standard paperback of Shade of Light from 5.5 to 8.5 to 6 by 9. So that gives me more room to make comments and add those author notes. So I still have a lot to do with this Kickstarter, including formatting book 3 editions, not part of the omnibus. But I'm confident that I can pull that off all in time before the 9/11 due date, which I need to submit my campaign to Kickstarter for final approval if I want a September 18th launch date. So there's a lot I need to do in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Let's see how much of this I get done before the next update in the next episode next week. Okay, since I'm backburning all my other work in progress projects, I'm just going to go and jump right into this week's author experience topic. I thought I would talk about book releases and the question if timing matters. I wanted to share my observations on book releases by months, days, and trends. First, I want to mention that book releases and Kickstarter campaigns, from what I've noticed, kind of go hand in hand when it comes to best time to release or launch a Kickstarter campaign. Before I share my observations regarding the release trends for the months and days, I want to start with genre trends. Meaning, for trending genres or themes, say a holiday themed book sells well around the holidays. You wouldn't sell a holiday or a snowy themed book in the middle of summer. Whereas spooky books do well around October and romance books do well in February. In addition to holidays, if your book has themes that coordinate with widely popular celebrated observances or awareness months, plan your release around those dates rather than the high season release months. So I just want to remind you that everything I'm saying in this episode is my opinion and my personal observations that I've made over the years. Something else I thought I would share to consider when planning out a release or a campaign to launch is the months surrounding a U.S. presidential election tend to have lower book sales. And from what I've seen and heard from other authors, it's probably a good idea to avoid releasing a book around this time. These elections are every 4 years, and I've heard from other authors outside of the U.S. that their sales are also affected during this time. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and jump into sharing my observations and opinions based on each month of the year. Well, actually, I've kind of paired the months up. So let's start with January and February. These 2 months are typically not popular months when it comes to releasing a new book. And I think it's because the holiday season has just wrapped up, no pun intended, and people aren't usually spending a lot of money. And I've heard whispers that the trad publishers often reserve these quieter months for mid-list or debut authors rather than the big author household names. That being said, romance, self-help, And books tied to, say, Black History Month can thrive in February. So there are those trending themes and Awareness Month exceptions. March and April are fantastic launch months for either your book release or a Kickstarter campaign. By this time, the post-holiday slump is over and people are ready to spend again, sometimes even with their tax refund money. Both traditional publishers and indies drop strong titles here, and I've seen plenty of successful Kickstarters launch in March and April. May and June are also really good months to release a book or even launch a Kickstarter. The only thing is, once the weather gets nicer, people are more likely outside, so you may lose a little of that cozy reading vibe that happens earlier in the year. Something else to watch for is school schedules. Whether you have children or not, around graduation time or end of the year activities, people are busy and distracted. And the timing depends on where you live. For example, when I lived in New England, I lived in Connecticut, school didn't get out until mid-June. But here in Kansas, out in the Midwest, it's usually mid-May that the kids get out of school. So if you're planning a release, keep in mind when your audience might be tied up with school stuff. July and August. These are tough months for a book release or a Kickstarter, in my opinion. Summer just pulls people in every direction. Readers are outside at the pool, the beach, traveling, or just outside soaking up the sun. And it's harder to grab their attention, but it's not just the readers. It's us authors too. Summer is busy. If you've got kids at home, you know exactly what I mean. I've got 3 girls still living at home, my youngest being 13, and our house in the summer is a go, go, go from morning until 10 or 11 at night. It's rarely quiet. So yeah, summer months are busy. If you're planning a release during July or August, you might want to think about doing more of a soft release, something low-key. Or if you're going all in with a big release, just know you'll probably need to work a little harder to reach your readers. Okay, now we're going to move into the high season, if you will, for book releases and Kickstarter launches. September and October are probably the most popular months to put a book out or start a campaign. Trad publishers usually save these months for their big name authors, the ones who are guaranteed to sell. It's kind of like the prime time for publishing. Everyone's paying attention, and readers are back in their routines after summer looking for their next new book to read. There are also some clear genre trends during these months. October, of course, is the perfect month for spooky or horror-themed books, and you'll see a lot of those releases timed perfectly for Halloween. September tends to be a strong month for general fiction, fantasy, and back-to-school releases. Now, when I say back to school, I mean books that come out right when the school year is starting. Late August through September, it's not just for kids or teens. It's when people are settling back into their routines after summer. So they're looking for new books to read, new projects or challenges to tackle, especially for the book influencer community. Basically, it's all about timing your release for when readers are ready to pick up something fresh. For authors planning a Kickstarter, September and October can really work well for you too. So if you've got a project that matches a seasonal vibe, or you just want the extra attention that comes from launching during a high traffic month, September and October are definitely worth considering. The last 2 months, November and December, can be tricky. Early to mid-November is still part of the high season, in my opinion, especially if you're trying to get attention before the holiday rush. The weekend after Thanksgiving is a huge weekend for book sales, but not so much for new releases. People are buying gifts, not necessarily hunting for brand new titles. That big wave of buying books tends to carry on into December too. Honestly, I'd say any book released in December should probably be holiday themed only. If your book isn't holiday related and it's ready to go, I'd recommend either trying to publish the first 2 weeks of November or pushing your date and waiting until early March. Just remember those exceptions. For example, if you're publishing a romance. If it's a romance, February is your sweet spot because of Valentine's Day. Okay, so those are the low and high season months for releasing a book or a Kickstarter campaign. Now let's talk about something else I've noticed: the day of the week a book gets released. And there are definitely two different patterns depending on whether you're in traditional publishing or self-publishing. The traditional publishing world usually puts new books out on Tuesdays, and many indie authors follow that pattern too. I've seen a lot of indie authors also go outside of that traditional model and release on Fridays. Actually, as an indie author, you can release your book on any day of the week, Monday through Sunday. You have that freedom to decide. But I also get why trad publishers stick to one day. Imagine all the books they're publishing and releasing each week, every month, throughout the year. I'd want my publisher to give my book as much attention before moving on to its next release. So in my mind, I'm thinking they pick Tuesday because it gives the book the whole week to make sales, get reviews, and get noticed before the next book or the next batch of books releases. Which makes sense because in a corporate world, you want to work during the week. You don't want to work on weekends. So all the big publishing companies, they want to work during the week and they don't want to work on the weekends. Releasing a book on Friday means you have to work on the weekend to promote it. Well, that is my 2 cents on which days of the week to publish. One last thing to keep in mind when picking your launch day. Pay attention to what other books in your genre are releasing around the same time. If a big name author, either trad or indie, has a highly anticipated release, your book may get lost in the shuffle, and your pre-sales and visibility on social media and in your newsletters could be affected. Timing your release to avoid clashing with those major launches can make a difference, especially as an indie author trying to stand out. I'm positive down the road I'll do an episode that talks more specifically about the launch process. But for now, I hope my observations on book release and Kickstarter campaign timing have given you some insight into when your book release or campaign launch might get the best sales and visibility. That's all for episode 21. I'll be back next week with more updates and more experiences to share. Until next time, thank you for listening to From Ideas to Pages to Publishing with me, Kimberly Grymes. For more information about me, my books, and my author shop, visit kimberlygrymes.com/links.